Hello everyone and welcome to IXION. Mistakes were made and we are all going to die. That's the general theme of this game. The UN doesn't like us. Oh no. Which makes my people very sad. I don't know why they're very sad that the UN doesn't like them. I mean, UN doesn't really like much of anyone, but anyhow. So, an interesting game here with an interesting story and unfortunately some kind of crap mechanics. So, it's somewhat a city builder, somewhat of a survival game. And to truth be told, like I just mentioned, the game mechanics themselves are some of your worst enemies. The first thing is what we have here, our hull integrity. You notice it's repairing a little bit. This basically acts solely as a resource tax. It does. You continuously have to make alloys in order to keep the hull repaired. Because it turns out that this ship of yours was built with good intentions, but not too much in the way of good design philosophy. So, having engaged your FTL engine for the first time, the ship becomes bound and determined to tear itself apart unless continuously repaired. So what happens if you were to say switch off hull repair? Yeah, look how fast that's dropping. Now this might not even be the intended, like if your flow of alloys to your EVA airlocks here, which are used to repair the hull, is interrupted. Turn that back on before it drops too low. Your hull will degrade if you need to, which can suck if you're trying to save up alloys for some important building or structure, like the building that actually produces alloys. And you're sitting there and you hear an alert and your hull's at 25% and you're stuck doing absolutely nothing but making sure it gets repaired. Then you have various sectors that make up your ship, the Tycoon. Here I have sectors 1 and 2 open. This wall here is basically impenetrable to your citizens. They cannot cross this wall except on your orders. Literally. You can't have people living here in Sector 1 and working here in Sector 2. Nope. The whole population required to crew that sector has to live in that sector. There might be a train line research that it's implied that might solve this problem later on, but until then it's just kind of a pain. That said, they also cannot cross sectors to get a bite to eat or anything else. So you gotta take that. Whenever you move to a new sector, you gotta basically build your initial building chain from scratch. Housing, infirmary, food, stockpiles to store everything, which are going to take up a surprising amount of men and material. Surprising and frustrating. Then you have the problem with opening new sectors. The two biggest detractors from your hull integrity is how many jumps you have done with your FTL drive and how many sectors you have open. So, I mean, having a sector open is not a bad thing. You can build like another EVA dock, which is useful, and it'll speed up repairs faster. But you can only repair to a certain point. So, yeah. If you open up another sector too early with not enough resources, it can actually end up costing you the game. As you go into resource starvation, everything falls apart, your people start rioting, and then the UN shows up and kills everyone. Why? Because they're the UN and they're all big jerk faces. The game doesn't tell you that, though. In fact, it'll tell you, hey, let's open this sector right now. And you're like, okay, this must be part of the tutorial. It is not. It is the game, once again, trying to kill you. And that is a problem. If you are not familiar with this type of game, there is so much here that can cause you basically to lose the game. And sometimes you don't even realize that you've just done the bad thing until it's too late. Like right now, my farming is dependent on water. Water, which comes in the form of ice floating out there in space, which I then load into this fusion station here, and it melts it. Why the ice just doesn't melt on its own, I don't know. And turns it into water, which is then used on your farms, producing far tastier food than the bugs that they start you with. Because, let's be fair, no one wants to eat the bugs. But say you run out of water and you're not paying attention to what your ships are mining or transporting, because your ships, they're crewed by idiots. They're like, oh hey, let's grab this carbon off here when I got all this ice that could also be grabbed.
An accident has occurred in the Typhoon.
And there's another problem. Space OSHA is not here. So you have all kinds of accidents, especially if you do not keep your work conditions optimal, i.e. you have to have enough people manning everything. I cannot recommend this strongly enough. If you go to extra hours working condition, start turning off stuff. Nice thing is, like these stockpiles here, just turn them off, and they're not taking up any power, which I could stockpile on some batteries or have right here. Or more importantly, they're not using up crew. And literally nothing happens to the resources in a stockpile. You can't access it, but it's not going to go anywhere. But yes, extra hours, if conditions are anything but optimal, the risk of injury increases dramatically due to accidents, and death can result. And considering how the only source for people is these cryopods you can pick up, I haven't seen any in this friendly looking system here just yet, although there's a lot floating out there that I haven't poked at yet. That's it. You run out of people, that's a good way to lose the game right there. You run out of water and you're dependent on it for food. Your people start going hungry, then they'll get angry, then they'll riot, then they'll throw you out an airlock, and then the hull will fall apart because you're not on maintaining things, and so on and so forth. The cycle then continues. But yeah, the game mechanics are interesting, but poorly implemented. Like, it actively discourages you from opening up other sectors because of the whole resources can't cross the wall thing without you saying so. But you need to open other sectors to keep on expanding and building, and so on and so forth. Now let's take a look outside at the ship here. One thing the game does well, the visuals are on point. The Tigan, or whatever it's called, looks very impressive, to say the least. Not quite the design I might have chosen for an interstellar ship, but hey, they do that. They gotta do them. But yeah, look at that. I'm just hovering over this gas, the rings of the gas giant here with this very energetic sun doing this thing. Solar panels all. Although why I don't have like some good old nuclear reactors or whatnot, I don't know. Another thing, remember how I mentioned before that your ships that you have at control of are idiots? Well, this here mentions this in the tutorial, but doesn't act unless you go through the little help menus here. Unless you go through that, you might not realize at first that this is what they call space weather. Space weather is a very bad thing. Space weather will kill your ships. So when you have an entire fleet group, if you have a half dozen ships fly over here to start processing these resources, and you don't notice that they're sailing through this, guess what? They're all going to die. So the smart thing would be just go around, right? Well, that's the smart thing. So you could actually move your main ship. But here's the problem. You can't move it to just any random point. Like, I can't move it here and then move it over to here. It doesn't work like that. Let's actually recall all my ships here. Because I kind of want to fly over there. Let's see how bad this is going to break my hull once everybody gets back. And speed up time a little bit. Yeah, kind of awkward at times that moving resources around. You gotta balance your sliders just the right way. It's best to have one sector focus on one thing. Like, as soon as my next sector I'm going to open up is Sector 6 here, and I'm actually going to start moving my food production over to there, and just probably get rid of this probe launcher too. Just stick that over there, so it can think about what it's done. And then I gotta figure out how to make these people happy. Oh yes, and in order to get anywhere on this ship, you have to build roads. Why? You can't see me shrugging right now, but I am shrugging. I'm shrugging so much right now. So it's probably because they wanted some form of transportation and logistics network. Okay, fair enough. But everything is so tied to these roads, it's not even funny. Alright, are all my ships back yet? Yep. Alright, now let's go do something that's... Oh, actually, first, always save the game before you do something stupid. And let's move the Tegan over to here. So while you're moving the ship's underway, two things are going to happen. First off, the ship's power grid is going to become entirely devoted to running the main engines. So your sectors are now reliant on batteries power. Should the batteries run dry, always a possibility, then that sector will stop functioning until the ship comes to a complete stop. Which, judging by the power draw, that might happen. Let me turn a few things off.
Caution. Entering stellar storm.
Oh. Yeah, let's see what this does to my hull. Okay, it's not actually damaging it that much. But yeah, also, so moving the ship causes damage. Fun, right? I know these things basically have minimum power draw, but you know what? Let's keep the lights on just a little longer.
Administrator, a new request awaits your attention.
Oh, what now? Well, let's try that. Because I should be through this by that time. Yeah, but remember what I said about the visuals? Yeah. One thing is, I don't know how much these guys actually had experience with in space stuff, but right now it looks like I'm firing reaction thrusters to attempt to slow the ship down. And expect to see things go offline here in a second. Oh, no, we switched over to main power just in time. Yay, let us rejoice. Alright, so there you have it. This is IXION. Not a bad game. And personally, I like it's actually got a lot that I like about it. It's got a very I'm pretty involved in the storyline. I think it's very interesting. I just realized I left my science ship on the other side of this, and it's probably going to die getting to me. And that is why I saved. But anyway, yeah, it's a good game if you can ignore its flaws. And I'm actually pretty interested to see what the modding scene will do with this game.
An accident has occurred in the tycoon.
I've heard some creators talk about maybe doing like some kind of FTL roguelike system with this. Because, yeah, if you kind of clean up the whole ship ripping itself apart bit, you can do some really fun roguelike stuff with this, I think. But anyway, that's just me and my opinion. Hope everyone has a good day, and I will catch everyone later.